To me, really, the question on the ballot this November is, what do Christian values look like? To me, if this is a competition of Christian values, bring it on. And I think what's so frustrating to me is that so often, my party has its own weaknesses, but the Republican Party for the past 10 or 15 years has really held up the Bible as a source of their political traditions, of their policy, etc. And what I'm trying to do is say, well, actually, let us look at this biblical text. Let us look at what Jesus Christ says in the Gospel of St. Matthew about serving the least of these. Let's look at what Luke says about to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think what we're figuring out, my campaign is figuring out, is there are some Christians who their faith it's illuminated first and foremost by politics. I think of what Robert Jones wrote in that book, The Death of White Christian America, and what he was saying is that poorly educated faith, and Ross Douthat, a famous conservative columnist in the New York Times, posed the same thing about 7 or 8 years ago. Really, when you have an illiterate faith, a faith that is just kind of reduced to banners and balloons and slogans, and it's not actually a living faith, a living walk with Christ, what you see is it's very much able to be consumed by politics. And I think what I am really making a play for is, I think the faith that has so much highlighted the life of everyday Tennesseans, particularly in rural Tennessee. What we've got to ensure is that is the faith of Jesus Christ, and not some nostalgia for some past that never existed. God is not an American. Christ is not a Democrat or a Republican, and no party, no politician achieves all the ideals of the gospel. The vast majority of people that I come in contact with every day are not sitting around reading Federalist 51. But they are reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So you can communicate to people on that baseline level. We don't need biblical scholars, but if we can have some common language, I think it's important. But I also think it's important for those of us who feel that some in the political realm are exploiting the faith for partisan ends that are actually very much in juxtaposition to the faith, that we got to speak out. And to me, that's what I'm trying to do. I am trying to say that I am the candidate for pro-life Christians. I am the candidate for believers. I am the candidate that will take the gospel values and do my best as a sinner, as an imperfect person, to implement the highest ideals of our faith in public life. Now, that's not a theocracy. We exist in a secular sphere, but there's some universal values that are so clear in the gospel that I think we have a responsibility to lift up. Care for the poor, justice for the excluded, care for the sick, etc. And so to me, these are values that are not in any way to negate secular American life, but actually help fulfill it.